Let's talk about Telltale for a second. Like you guys mentioned before, Walking Dead Season 2 is coming out December 18th, which is cool. Everybody's been wanting The Walking Dead for a while. But also, more importantly, especially coming out of the VGX show, okay, Telltale's got a lot on their plate. They're doing a lot of big things. I mean, we got Tales of the Borderlands, which is pretty cool. Nobody expected that coming. We also had, was it one of the announcements that was actually leaked early? They're doing a Game of Thrones game, which is very cool for a lot of people that are fans of Game of Thrones. So that's like three major projects that they got going on at the same time that are all coming out within 2014. And then let's not forget The Wolf Among Us. People want a second season of The Wolf Among Us. So that would be pretty dope. But let me ask you guys this. Are they really kind of, one, becoming one of the best game studios around now as far as like, narrative and the types of games that they create? But also, are they stretching themselves out too thin? Because that's a lot of, games, a lot of big projects that what they have that people are really expecting or banking on at this point, especially, again, Walking Dead, being one of their best games that won them Game of the Year last year and really got a lot of attention. Do you think like because they're stretching themselves too thin, are they going to kind of, sacrifice a little bit of the quality that they've, put into their games like Walking Dead, in exchange for having more quantity, having more games with them involved in? So, Gary, you like Telltale, you like Walking Dead. Talk to me.
Yeah, I love Telltale. I think they're definitely one of the most, I don't know if you would say creative, but definitely one of the most uh, consistent, I guess, studios that have come out in recent years. I like The Walking Dead. The Wolf Among Us I haven't played yet, but I've been meaning to play that. I might even try and knock it out this week since Walking Dead is out like next week or something. But yeah, I mean the quality of their games so far has been great. And I'm really excited to see the Borderlands and the Game of Thrones games that they're doing because those have a lot of potential. And I definitely want to see them take on more projects as well. Like I think this is something that they can consistently do. Take on these worlds that already exist in some form, whether it's a TV show, novel, comic, or something. They can pick these up and bring these ideas to life in their gaming industry. I think that's really their thing, and I want to see them do more of it. But there might come a point where it gets a bit stale and a bit played out, especially if, they just keep doing like the same type of gameplay style for each game. They're going to have to figure out some way to mix things up a little bit to make things unique to each game, I guess. Like, there's got to be something different because I don't want to play like Game of Thrones and it plays exactly like Walking Dead, but it's just, different world, different story. So they need to come with some new kind of gameplay concepts to keep things fresh between their games. So,
Do you think like having four projects though coming out next year, or like four projects being worked on with a possible release next year, like that? Do you think it's gonna run them down a little bit? Like I have a strong feeling because again, these are all big projects that people want, are getting excited for. That like maybe they probably not gonna put enough attention to detail or enough attention to quality in one that they probably should. Like to me, I feel like maybe they should only just be working on two or three of them that'll like make them really good, before like jumping into all these projects. Like having a hand in everything to me sounds like it might be, it might work against them.
yeah, I, see, I don't know how big their studio is or how big their team is or whatever, but I mean,
They
I
just got
kind of,
one fun fact about that. Now that you mentioned that, they actually after they won Game of the Year for Walking Dead, they got a whole slew of people into their studio. It was like a good couple hundred people.
oh, okay. Well, that still seems like kind of a small team. I kind of thought they were a small team, and yeah, I do have concerns over whether they can dedicate enough time to all these projects and stuff. But they are getting kind of popular now, and I'm sure they can hire more people, from now till next year or whatever. So I'm sure they'll have the manpower to deal with it because if they are taking on more projects, that means more cash flow, more staff, and they'll grow basically into they might even become on a scale of like a what THQ used to be or something. Hopefully they don't end up like them, but
Definitely not.
they might.
Definitely not, because I like Walking Dead. A lot of people love Walking Dead. I would love them, maybe outside of doing like all these new stuff. Maybe sometime within the following years, maybe go back to some of their other games and like continue a little bit. Like I felt like they need to go back and kind of redo Jurassic Park, because I know everybody kind of forgot that one. It was an okay game. It wasn't their best work, and it's same thing with Back to the Future. I feel like they should go back and revisit Back to the Future again. But again, that's just wishful thinking. So, Ed, talk to me. Telltale Games, Walking Dead, all these other titles that they have coming out, Wolf Among Us, Game of Thrones, Tales of the Borderlands. What's up with this?
I do agree. I mean, well, no and yes to your questions. Your first one was, are they becoming one of the best studios? No, because for the most part, all their games are essentially the same formula. The 5 episodes, the story, making decisions, and yes, because they are going to run themselves thin. I mean, it's only for so long that you can apply, the Telltale experience to every franchise. It's like, okay, we got Game of Thrones, that's cool. The Walking Dead was okay. I guess in hindsight, having the Walking Dead Telltale experience was a surprise because it actually turned out pretty damn good. But I don't think anybody was clamoring for that particular series to happen. Game of Thrones, that kind of seems like justifiable. Like, okay, yeah, I can see that. Borderlands, that one's weird. Like, that one's fucking weird. Like,
I think it's cool they're working with Gearbox. Like,
I think it's
they're
cool,
actually able to
but
work with them and kind of, do good stuff.
it's cool. And I mean, I like Borderlands a lot, but I don't like. I don't really want to learn more about that world. Like, I don't care for that world that much that I need this whole, story-driven experience around Pandora.
But isn't it a good
I
thing to
get what you're
explore that
saying.
world a little more?
Was
Don't you
that?
think it's a better thing? Don't you think that's a good thing to actually explore that world a little bit more? Since obviously not only does it have 2 games, but Pandora is so massive, in its scale. Like there would obviously be different things that you wouldn't get from the first 2 games. Don't you think that be pretty cool to kind of like expand upon that? So eventually, Borderlands 3 down the line.
Not really, because for one, the Borderlands story isn't even that great to begin with. I mean, Borderlands is good, not for its story. At least not with me. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, for how long can you just apply a franchise name to this? Like, okay, do we want to see a Simpsons Telltale game? Do we want to see a Family Guy Telltale game?
I think about it, Simpsons would actually be kind of funny if I think about
actually,
it.
it would, but it's like, like, how long can you just start getting licenses for this shit before it gets fucking old?
You know what I would like to see them do? I want them, because I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan. Like, I read the books, I watch the TV shows, Elementary, the movies, everything, and I think they would be the perfect ones to make a Sherlock Holmes game, because like, the way their game mechanics work, it's like you can check like a whole crime scene or whatever, and you can you can basically use Sherlock's art of deduction and figure things out. So I think they have the perfect formula to make the perfect Sherlock Holmes
If they
game.
wanted to go bankrupt, that's the game they would make.
I actually agree with Gary. Sherlock Holmes from them, I think they're actually pretty good, because Sherlock Holmes, just in of itself, the franchise, just the IP, is all about like good writing and witty stuff and mystery. I think like they'd be the perfect group to handle something like that, because it sounds like that type of game, that type of story would mesh with that type of game that they're so used to creating.
Yeah, but what kind of games do you guys want to see them make? Like, hypothetically, if they were to take on another project, what would you guys want it to be?
Does it have to be new IPs, or does it have to be? Could it be existing IPs?
Existing, because we can't predict
anything.
Then I want them to go back and do Jurassic Park again. Honestly, totally redo that one, or like give us another story that's better than what they had, and then also go back and redo or add on to Back to the Future, because I know a lot of people liked Back to the Future. I thought it was witty, it was fun, and it sounds like they could have a lot of fun with that franchise, or just that that universe like that. It's a good change of pace from Walking Dead and obviously Game of Thrones, because it seems like those are like gritty stories, and same thing even with The Wolf Among Us. There's like gritty stories and dark stories, and then something like Back to the Future is much more lighthearted and a lot more fun. You get a different kind of writing from them.
Yeah. What was you gonna say, Ed?
I was gonna say the only series I want Telltale to make into a game is The Wire.
Oh,
The Wire is Telltale.
Imagine a Breaking Bad game from them. That should be kind of cool.
yeah, I was thinking Breaking Bad as well.
Breaking Bad or The Sopranos.
I was
Oh,
actually
God.
thinking about Breaking Bad, but then I was like, how could that work? It can't. So The
That
Wire
could
would
work.
be.
I'm pretty sure if they made it something out of Walking Dead, and they're doing something out of Game of Thrones, I'm pretty sure they can make anything work about this point.
No, because how do you implement that? Like, who would you be? You can't be Mr. White.
Some henchman working under
There
all the
was
main
no
characters.
henchmen, so there you go. So,
Some
but The
some
Wire,
guy.
you could be like, there's an upcoming drug dealer.
Or
Yeah,
a rival
so
drug dealer or something like that.
you can sell WMD. Alright. But that's pretty good.
Wow. But I like Telltale. I think they were great. Now, let me ask you something, if your guys' personal opinions, because I think, Ed, you played Wolf Among Us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Gary, obviously you played Walking Dead. So, did you
Yeah,
guys play that on the consoles, correct? Or did you guys get a chance to ever play those games on the PC? Because my
Console.
I
question is, I
played.
want to know which one do you guys feel is like where those games are more at home at? Since to me, I think their games are much more at home on PC because it's point and click. For obvious reasons, I
Yeah,
fit that to me. That feels more comfortable.
yeah, I played Walking Dead on Steam on PC, and yeah, I agree with you. Well, I've never actually tried it on the console, to be honest. I'm sure it plays okay there as well.
It's also on Vita.
But I also think the Vita is a good platform for it because obviously you got the touch features and stuff. So I think that's perfect for it as well. So yeah, I'm not going to be a PC elitist and say that it's best played on PC. I think I mean their games are simple to play. They're not that complex. So I guess they're games that they can put on any platform. In fact, they should even put them on the Wii U. I don't see why they can't do that. 'Cause, that would be
Hey, it'd be
good
this
on
almost the exact same idea like on the Vita. I think it's good on the Vita though. Like for example, like Walking Dead on the Vita. Outside of like getting all the DLC, the 400 days extra episode and stuff, but because they're so narrative driven based, and it's not so much gameplay as it is like you're just watching like an interactive drama, kind of like Heavy Rain in principle. Like that, those are great for especially for like long flights, or a game like that is great for like a long traveling trip like that. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know, Ed. What do you think?
What was your question?
I mean, do you think that those games, because you played Wolf Among Us,
Oh, well, I
was it you
mean, I
played it?
didn't play it on the PC, and I don't want to ever play any game on any PC.
Oh, you like it
So,
more on the console? Honestly, like how was it for you?
it was alright. I mean, I can't, I don't know what it's like to play PC, because so I can't answer that question.
Get your life together, B. Go play like a
You
PC game.
know,
Go.
PC stupid. Like PC's overrated, man.
Oh my God! And then that was just a million PC fanboys coming to flame the Koalition.com.
Look, man, like where did we start gaming? Gary,
We
was your
started gaming
first
on
gaming?
computers. We started gaming on computers. Hey, just
No,
saying.
Gary's first console was a PlayStation,
Oh, you mean
because he
us,
never
like
owned a
individually? Okay, that's different.
My
because
first console. My
he
first
never
console
owned a Nintendo,
was a
so
NES. My first console was a NES.
It was
he
a
never played
NIST.
Mario in his life.
My first game was Mario.
Oh,
He
for real?
never beat it.
I never beat it, but it was my first game. So.
That was his beginnings, right
Hey,
there.
I was like 5 years old, man. How can I beat Mario at 5 years
Gary
old?
didn't know who Bowser was till like 2002.
Whatever, man.
Wow,
Whatever.
that's funny, man. But either way, Telltale Games, great studio, well deserved on a lot of the praise that they get because those games, Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, great games that everybody should check out at least, even if you're not so into like even if you're into more of like having more interactivity and more action in your games, these are still games that are worth a check out from everybody.